Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cryptic Commander. I am your host, John Nosey, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite decks. I mentioned I mentioned it in an earlier podcast. It's a mono blue mill deck, modern legal, and I got pieces of it laying around. I don't have it put together, so try to do my best here. I remember. Let's see here. I can pull up Shelldock Isle. That was a land. Let's pull that up real quick. So I think it was the only non-basic land that wasn't in the deck. Shelldock Isle. Let's see if that comes up real quick. Sure does. All right. So it's a land, hideaway. This land comes into play tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library, remove one from the game, face down. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library. Tap, add blue to your mana pool. Blue, tap. You may play the remove card without paying its mana cost if a library has 20 or fewer cards in it. And our goal with this deck is milling. I'm milling. All right. So, Cryptic Command, of course. So, one other, 3 blue, instant, choose 2, and there's 4 modes. Counter target spell, return target permanent to owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control, draw a card. This was the turn for you ain't doing nothing, bud. I mean, think about it. You're like tapping down all the creatures and drawing a card, or tapping down all the creatures, return a threat. You know, you can counter a spell, and then tap down all the creatures. And that was one of my favorites. Was, I'll counter your spell. You used all your land. I'm gonna tap all your creatures. Is it my turn? Because I was milling you 20 on turn 3. I'm shutting you down on turn 4. And turn 5, I'm gonna go ahead and mill you for 40. It was pretty ignorant. Moving along. Let's see here. We also had Snapcaster Mage. So it's a rare. 1 blue, 1 other. Creature Human Wizard. 2/1. Flash, which means you can cast it as an instant. Anytime you can cast an instant. When Snapcaster Mage enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until the end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. Whew. Even if it wasn't in this deck, it's such an ignorant card. I love it. I love it so much. 39.78, about what it's going for now, and that's really about how much it's been throughout the history since it's been created. Interesting story on how it got created. It's on the internet. Interesting story. Godhead of Awe. So Ogre gave me the idea of, with Sanity Grinding, you want to pump a lot of high casting cost blue spells in your deck. And Godhead of Awe was a hybrid card of 5 blue or 5 white, flying. Other creatures are 1/1. That's a stamped ability. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. It's a flying 4/4. Other creatures are 1/1. Your creatures, your opponent's creatures. But don't get it wrong that if they got counters on the creatures, that still counts. This is just base power and toughness of 1/1. Overbeing of Myth. Now it's another hybrid card, 5 blue or 5 green, and Overbeing of Myth's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand. At the beginning of your draw step, draw a card. Ooh, I love having 2 or 3s on these on the field. Not only they become like a 5/5, and the next turn they're all 8/8s, but you're drawing an additional card for each one that's in the battlefield. The deck really wasn't about getting these guys out, but as a backup, it was amazing. And it was really all about the 5 casting cost blue. Twin Cast. Ooh, I've got a lot of stories about this guy. As a matter of fact, Twin Cast, it's what taught me what priority meant. Before using this card, I didn't know anything about priority. So I would do like Sanity Grinding, and then I would wait for the reaction. Like if they would counter it, I'd be like, okay. And then if they didn't counter it, I'd be like, okay, twin cast. So technically, it goes on the stack with Sanity Grinding. So the spell you're going to copy, whether it's your opponent's card or your card, it has to be played with the card. So therefore, if they counter the other one, they're both countered because one's going to fizzle. And man, I remember, and I'm man enough to make to own up to my mistakes. I was at a certain tournament. I can't remember if it was regionals or where it was. I think it was of regionals, and the you know the guy goes cast a spell. Oh, no, I said sanity grinding. He said counter spell, and I said twin cast, and he said, okay, what are you copying? And I said sanity grinding, and then the guy called the judge over because we had a dispute, and I thought I was right, and he knew he was right, and now I look back, I knew he was right, but I was really stubborn. And the judge came over, and the judge said, hold on, hold on, hold on, and he looked at me, and he said, you did what? And I said, I cast sanity grinding. He said, okay, what did he do? He countered it. All right, then what'd you do? I said, twin cast. He goes, targeting. And then the other guy just jumped up, no, no, no. Because, as I thought about it later, and I didn't think about it then, somebody that would be rude or ignorant could have said, oh, I'm going to target his counterspell. But I really didn't know, man. I really didn't know. So I was like, I copied my sanity grinding, And he goes, okay, so that fizzles and your twin cast fizzles and anything else? So that was a learning experience, guys. Delver of Secrets. This is a 1-drop. It costs 1 blue mana. Creature, human, wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card. If an instant or sorcery card is revealed this way, transform Delver of Secrets. All right, on the back side of it is what you do. You flip it over. It's a 0 casting cost token, I guess you would think at this point. Flying 3/2. So this 1/1 would turn to a flying 3/2 just simply by revealing an instant or sorcery. This deck is chock full of instants. I'm going to take a drink real quick. But I'll tell you guys, there was nothing like having three of these guys down, or 2 of these guys down. Turn 1, they flip over to a 3/2 flyer, getting around most walking guys. Dream Fracture. An instant, 2 blue and 1 other. Counter target spell. Its controller draws a card, and then draw a card. So you counter their spell, they draw a card, you draw a card. Not really one of the best cards in the game, but I figured back in the time when this deck was created, because since then I've transferred it out. This was one of the starting counter spells I had. Vapor Snag was 1 blue, instant, return target creature to its owner's hand. Its controller loses 1 life. Boomerang. Man, I wish they would print something like this, man. 2 blue, instant, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Nowadays, it's return target non-land permanent. I really wish we can go back to something like that, man. Sanity Grinding. I've mentioned it before. 3 blue, sorcery, chroma. Reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each blue mana symbol in the mana costs of the revealed cards, target opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Then put the cards you revealed this way into the bottom of your library in any order. That card was the heart of this deck. Jace Beleren, the original blue planeswalker. So they came out with another one called Jace the Mind Sculptor after this one. And that's a pretty well famous one. This one was 2 blue, 1 other. Each was 3 loyalty. So it starts with 3 loyalty. It had an uptick of +2 loyalty. Each player draws a card. -1 loyalty. Target player draws a card. And then -10 loyalty. Target player puts the top 20 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Looking back, you think this was a good threat, but I mean, yeah, some people that were, young and naive would be like, oh, no, no. But that ultimate really wasn't that big of a deal. If anything, this was meant to help you draw a card. You didn't want your opponent to draw a card. And I really just put this down as a body, as a distraction anyway. This one was really cool. Plumeveil. It's spelled Plumeveil. One of the hybrid cards that flash, three blue or three white, I'm sorry. Flash, flying, defender. 4/4. It really, again, it wasn't really too bad of a card when I created this deck. It's just, I remember so fondly of people telling me, you're like this invisible wall that we can't touch because you're countering everything. And then we put down like a flying 7/7 trample, and then all of a sudden you whip out a Plumeveil from nowhere. I'll put two of these down and double block that guy. That was some good times. Broken Ambitions. One blue and X. Instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays X. Clash with an opponent. If you win, that spell's controller puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Each clashing player reveals, so it's parentheses, each clashing player reveals the top card of his or her library, then puts the top card, then puts that top card of his or her library. Let me start over on that one. That's a lot of writing. Each clashing player reveals the top card of his or her library, then puts that card on the top or bottom. A player wins if his or her card had a higher converted mana cost. It was great, man. I counter target spell for X. If I didn't have anything open, even nothing, they'd say 0, and we go, okay, clash. If mine was a higher converted mana cost, I'm milling them for 4. So it was a 2-for-1. Going back to these two cards, Godhead of Awe and Over Being a Myth, it was another thing I learned about, because there was a rare time where I would have both of these cards in play at the same time. And one said, it's got a star for every card in your hand, and the other one says other creatures are 1/1. So, are they all affected but the Over Being a Myth? So I had a judge. I stopped him and I asked him. He said, no, the Godhead of Awe, when it says other creatures are 1/1, that's a stamped ability. And the Over Being a Myth with the star of, being every one for every card in your hand. So if you have 5 cards in your hand, he's a 5/5. That's called a lair ability. And a stamped ability will override a lair ability. And that's the first time I ever heard anything like that. And that's knowledge with me I'm going to take for the rest of my life. One of the next episodes we're going to do, I think it's going to be tomorrow or the next day, I'm actually going to talk to you guys about my cube. And I just remember a couple of years ago, putting it together. It's just started with an idea. I saw a video from the professor at Tolarian Community College. And I thought at that time, that's a really good concept. I love the idea. I just don't think I have the wherewithal or the time to put into it. And then I remember one day I saw in the corner 4 cards laying on the ground. I picked them up, turned them around. One of them was a Birds of Paradise. I don't remember what the other 3 cards were. And I said, okay, I'm gonna start a cube. And I start thinking about, going back to the beginning video, the intermediate videos that are out there by the Tolarian Community College. And one of the cards that I thought of immediately was Inquisition of Kozilek. And I hope I'm saying it right. But it was almost like a duress, but a super duress, because I think it's like right around $17 or something. And it was just an amazing card that we used to play back in the day when Caw-Blade was a thing. And if anybody knows about Caw-Blade, almost everybody was playing Caw-Blade when that thing was legal. I was doing blue-white control with Jace the Mind Sculptor and Luminarch Ascension. Fun times. But I remember putting that cube together, and the Inquisition of Kozilek, yeah, that was one of the 4 cards. But, I can't wait to get into that, and that's going to be another episode all by itself. I could have tied it in with this one, but I think we're going to do longer episodes of the Cryptic Commander, and I do want to let you guys know that we we made arrangements for other podcasts to pick us up. So now we're being broadcast over Overcast. I didn't write down the name of the other one we got approved for this morning. We just found out we have a listener in Japan. So I do know it's the United States, Singapore. I mean, we're growing, guys. You know, England, we're growing. And another exciting feature is going to be working with another celebrity YouTube personality that's already established in the Magic the Gathering community. Out of respect, I don't want to mention too much yet, and I'm hoping I can get that approved by tomorrow. And, you know, I'm really excited, guys. And, you know, keep those suggestions coming in. Keep the criticism coming in. I know that I do mess up, you know, time to time, and I'm learning from my mistakes. I'm getting better. We're getting better over here behind the scenes, guys. You know, I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. Until next time, this is the Cryptic Commander, signing off.